Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. I know it's been a while, but I have a banger of a video for you guys today. However, before we get into the replay, I quickly have an announcement to make. I will be attending Dreamhack Jönköping in Sweden, starting tomorrow and ending on Sunday. Now, why am I there? Because there will be a 2v2 show match hosted and also broadcast on Saturday morning. All of the links and the details will be down below in the description. My role will be that of a coach giving live advice to one of the two teams, and the other team will be coached by SaraTzch, also known as Rat to some of you. So it should be a lot of fun. In case you guys are interested, I'm letting you know. And yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say for now. Honestly, let's just get straight into that replay, shall we? All right, and here we are. I am playing against Sarah, who has solidified himself as one of the best players in the game as of late, has been doing a lot of experimenting in terms of playing aggressively, and yeah, has managed to create an iconic style. So it should be a good match and a very, very worthy opponent. Now here, I decide to pick a quick supply specialist with Mustangs as well as crawlers. I quite like the flexibility of having those early 200 supplies, especially knowing that Sarah will be pushing me. Now Sarah is starting out with speed spec as well as having arcs and phoenix, buys 2 crawlers. And what I know from Sarah is that he does like to push symmetrically in this type of fashion. We have encountered each other quite often on the battlefield, so I'm starting to pick out some trends. And here what I was thinking is, well, with those arc lights, if I try and defend symmetrically, I'm going to run into some problems. My Mustangs are bad into the arc, they're not good into the crawlers either. If I split them up, it's just not going to go well for me in the early rounds, and I don't want to start off with a massive deficit against none other than Sarah. So you know what I'm going to do? I have that extra cash. Let's put everything on one side. Now, I do know that he's going to be pushing my other side, so I need to defend this tower. Or rather, I need to do something. But you can also defend a tower by upgrading it. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be using 100 out of my 200 additional supplies to give this an additional level, just to slow down this push and hopefully be able to stop the advance on this side, as I am, well, hard focusing on this side, right? Everything I have is on this one side. I get the insta-lock there. I decide to purchase 2 marksmen because I quite like having the additional single target DPS to deal with those arc lights. And I did position them somewhat forward to hopefully get an insta-locked, which did happen. On the right side, of course, my opponent got to go to town on that tower. However, it was leveled, so we actually do get a nice debuff timing here, where I now managed to get his tower, and I should be able to clean up the rest of his units. So, a successful first round, I would say. And now let's see what happens here in round number 2. Round 2, we already get to pick from a bunch of free units. Fangs, Scorpion, Rhino, and Fire Badger are offered. I am specifically looking at Fire Badger here. I know Sarah really likes to play it. The unit is very, very strong, especially with his type of playstyle, as you guys will see. But knowing that, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I can just buy the Scorpion, knowing that he will go Fire Badger, probably will be stacking on this one side where all of my units are. Maybe the Scorpion here can do something. If it gets a lock, it should be a favorable matchup. I'm just going to trust my chaff clear, my Mustangs for now, and let's buy this unit. I did leave a Scorpion-sized hole over here, which fits very nicely in the middle of this pillar of crawlers. The reason I do this, by the way, is, well, first of all, I don't want my marksman to instantly get targeted, and 2, it's creating a nice line of chaff that keeps flowing in as the fight progresses during the round. My opponent decides to jump drive his Phoenix, puts them closer to the tower. I was somewhat expecting this, so I do try and put some Fangs here, but as you guys will see, it's not quite good enough. The Fangs are too slow, and they won't be able to kill those Phoenix, and they'll get stuck on crawlers. Spoilers, I know. And I decide to buy another marksman here on the corner. The reason I do that, as well as purchasing a crawler here, I'm doing this because I don't want insta-locks or missiles to be happening on my my Mustangs and marksman combo here on the left. And also I'm trying to protect the flanks a little bit, and I'm doing the same with the marksman in the back, trying to prevent him from putting an arc light or something here, or at least if he does, I should win that initial round where he still has to spawn in. Scorpion did a good job, but the Fire Badgers together with the DPS from the Phoenixes is a bit too much, and the tower does go down relatively fast. So Sarah manages to strike back on round 2. And here we get extended range Vulcan, and this is kind of what I need, I realize. The card is exceptionally strong. It's the only card in the game where you get range as well as damage. Usually you only get range. And all you have to basically give is 35% hit points. But with the additional range and the damage, the Vulcan becomes a carry unit anyway, so it's pretty much a win-win situation. And I think to myself, well, those Mustangs are not looking too hot into this board. They're fighting like tanks, they're fighting crawlers, they're fighting arc lights. They're just not doing too great, and you can't blame them for it. So let's sell that, unlock and buy the Vulcan, which is expensive. I'm not a giant spec. I do need to pay those 200 credits to unlock it, but it should do relatively well. My opponent already starts with some shenanigans. These shallow flanks here are very, very potent, especially when pulling chaff that is positioned anywhere basically in this side of the board. I have been using these as well, often using arc lights, but Fire Badgers are even better if you can do so. And I decide to put some more fangs on this tower. I don't quite want to sink more money into this tower just yet. Kind of want to see what he does. But he seems to be committing a little more. Also adding crawlers, keeping the Phoenixes there. Now this side is going much better this round, right? Because I have that Vulcan, gets rid of all the crawlers. The Scorpion gets to lock on, kill the Badgers. All is good. Well, I say all is good. It's a little bit better. It's looking promising. The flank does pay off, and those Phoenixes and Arclights do remain alive. Here, Laser Sight shows up. I do think about it, but I decide to forgo it because I'd rather have the 150 credits because I will skip, so I will get 50 in addition, and use that for my comp. I already get a good amount of range here from the extended range card I picked up, and considering that he's in my face, I don't think I need a Laser Sight. And here, I just buy 2 more Vulcans. I also upgrade the tower to level 3. Now, this doesn't only make it tankier, it also reduces the debuff that it creates when it goes down. 2 seconds per level. So where this tower, you can see, gives 9 seconds of debuff, this one is now down to only 5. As well as just being hard to take down, right? And my opponent does seem to be committing resources still. This round, a Fire Badger, a Crawler in the back. And I am just saying, well, I don't really care. You can have that tower. Good luck with that. I'm going to try and overpower your left side of the board. And I'm just going to try and defend this tower instead. I find that much easier to do. Double Vulcan. You'll notice that in this particular game, I am also running Best Partner. So that might be clicked at some point. And what I'm thinking here is, well, at some point, I might just press Scorch. And Scorch should be able to deal with everything on his board that is ground-based. It should just absolutely melt the Fire Badgers. It should also be able to kill the Arcs while killing the Crawlers in the same process. And then hopefully I'll be able to buy enough Marksmen or get to a stage of the game where I can just tech Best Partner to kill off those Phoenixes. Right tower goes down, but as you can see, the debuff doesn't last all that long, and I'm already out of the debuff as he engages with the units on the right side. Vulcans take care of all the ground units, even without the Scorch here. That additional damage buff helping out. And my Marksman is able to take care of those Phoenixes, luckily. I only had 1 alive, but 1 was all that I needed. Improved Firepower Control System shows up. And I do pick it up. At this point, why not, right? Let's just go massive amounts of damage. It's not necessary because Scorch is also 125, but it's a good boost. It deals 337 damage every 0.1 seconds, adding up to a massive 3,300 damage every second. Yeah, it does not mess about, this Vulcan. Tower on the right gets upgraded again. Now it has 130,000 hit points and only debuffs me for 3 seconds when it goes down. I have been leveling this. I sold a marksman here in the front, by the way, because it was a little bit too close to the battle and dying very early. I am thinking of selling this Scorpion, though, because although it was good into the Fire Badgers initially, my Vulcans will be able to just do that job anyway and burn anything he puts in front of me. And that will allow me to retrieve some of that money. But for now, this is doing well. It's an additional tanky body. But I'm trying to give you guys an idea of what I'm already thinking of, right? Like now I'm in a mode of, well, I'm probably just going to be spamming more Vulcans here at some point. Now this is where SaraTzch his Phoenixes for a second time, going for Charge Shot without range. So these are very low range Phoenix, right? Well, I say that. 150 on these ones with the laser sight, but a mere 115 on the ones with without. Oh, he also got extended range Phoenix. My bad. I had not seen this. It's actually the first time I noticed. I didn't even notice this during the game. That's a very good pairing for him. Getting the extra damage, but also not losing too much range. You'll see that he utilizes it well, though. He plays comps that are very short range, a lot of tanks on the ground, and so he generally doesn't need the additional range on the Phoenixes and makes the Charge Shot work. Where usually Charge Shot would require something like a range tech to make sure that your Phoenixes don't get in front of something and die before they're able to do that crazy amount of DPS they gain. Round 6, we get more free units. Fortress here looks quite appealing for me. I want to go Fortress AA just to try and get some additional shots in. I was also a little bit concerned about something like Wasps showing up, and so this should prevent that. Now, I did somewhat expect Sarah to go for a Wraith here. Gets the field maintenance. I think we played some games on this particular day, and I was building quite a lot of AA fort into this type of comp. So I think he knew what was coming. I decided to buy another Vulcan, and you will see that I position it all the way in the back. The reason I'm doing this is because I was seeing that the way this fight goes is I'm beating him here, and then my Vulcans are marching forward towards his tower. But while they're doing that, this side gets the tower and starts flanking me from the right, leaving my marksman alone. Well, isolated, and without any chaff clear to deal with those crawlers. So that's why I decided to put a Vulcan here, hoping that he will slowly walk forward and then eventually start turning this way to help out those marksmen here without leaving them all by themselves. My opponent, by the way, takes Napalm on his Fire Badgers. Very, very powerful, but in this situation, maybe not so much. We'll have to see. This Wraith, though, extremely tanky. I did take Aerial Spec, expecting him to go for Wraith, but even with the Aerial Spec, you're going to see that this takes an awful long time. The AA not doing too much. I only have one Fortress so far. Luckily, the debuff wasn't too long, so I do manage to get rid of that Wraith, but oof. That was hard work. That was very hard work for those marksmen. But the game is kind to me and gives me Electromagnetic Blast on the next turn, which allows me to, well, disable that annoying tech. I do expect him to go for the same. I mean, look at how clumped up all of my units are. So I decided to put one shield down just to protect the marksman and at least 3 of my giants. Here, I am probably going to start selling this Scorpion. You can see that last round it only did 10k damage. It has been diminishing round by round as the Vulcans have started to get stronger. And it's a fair amount of money, 450. So I want to retrieve that. Let's actually see if I do it. Sarah here, expecting the EMP, moves all of his phoenixes backwards. Now, I decide to buy a phoenix myself, trying to get in with the cheese on the tower. He hasn't leveled them, and I also didn't see a missile on this side, which he did have on that side. I thought, you know, let's try my luck if I can get a debuff in. Maybe that's a lot of damage, especially on the EMP round, but unfortunately, that won't be happening. Sarah decides to tech his phoenixes a third time, now taking energy shield against the marksman, I presume. And also making them slightly more resilient against those anti-air barrage missiles if they do get hit. I buy a second fortress here on the left because he had some phoenixes that were attacking from this side. And also I put some fangs down on the right side just to try and protect my giants in case phoenixes would be flying in from the right and insta-targeting. We managed to get rid of the Wraith quite quickly. My marksman did level from last turn, so that's very good. Also, I am loaning here, getting temp range. And I leveled my tower to level 5, sending its hit points right up to 235,000 with a debuff of a mere 1 second. So it's really not worth for him to target this anymore. I'm happy he does though, because it means that these units are basically out of the fight. And I get to overpower him, which means I basically retain my entire army. Look at all these giants. The marksmen, luckily, do not burn up in that fire. And I'm able to take a massive round here, almost killing my opponent. Another turn. I see the underground threat. I don't need another improved or an advanced. My Vulcans are doing very well. I think to myself, well, he hasn't been leveling the towers. There's nothing here to protect him against replicate crawlers. So I pick up the underground. I tech replicate crawler purely for this cheese because I think it's worth investing 250 into that to just have a shot. It's not very easy for him to defend. The only way that he really can is by clicking replicate himself, but I don't think that he wants to. Or by putting some, like, Wraith back there, but that's unlikely. He does put down 2 missiles, but as you guys will see, underground does not all surface from the ground at the same time, which means that the missiles will not be killing the whole of the underground threat. Yeah, that is what it is called. Now, you will see some unhinged gameplay here, as I decided to level my marksman again, and I buy more Vulcans, 2 more in the back, with the best partner. It finally is teched. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Vulcans that will spawn 6 marksmen with AA, and I say good luck. Now, as you will see, my opponent did tech range on the fire badgers as well, and while it may make some sense on the left side, it's actually burning all of his crawlers on the right. It's creating a pool of flames underneath the tower, and those poor crawlers of his on the right side that were pushing too get cleared by his own napalm. And there we go. The tower debuff does come through. I didn't need it after all. It was a bit overkill, but it was a bit of a well, let's say an additional threat to try and close out the game. Yes, this game was sitting at around 2k MMR. You might not guess so if you looked at this particular board, but it actually does make a lot of sense, right? From round 1, where I realized that I am outmatched in the initial unit packs, to realizing that my only chance to have an advantage in the early game is to put everything on one side and try and overpower him, starting to level that tower on turn 1 to prevent an early debuff and give myself a chance, and then keeping buffing it slowly but steadily as the game progresses. I build myself a nice bunker here of all sorts of giants, fortresses and Vulcans, playing around that very powerful extended range Vulcan card, realizing that it would be able to deal with all of his chaff as well as tanks and arc lights, whatever you can imagine, and then focusing on the marksman, getting them AA as soon as that Wraith shows up, and as he tries to, well, as he invests more into his Phoenix. This was quite a cool game. I was happy with it and how it went. Some cool decision making, some interesting comps. Also, kudos to Sarah. Very cool playstyle overall, and it's made me have to rethink the way I play because he's had my number more than I've had his, I have to admit. So yeah, I hope you guys like this. If you did, please feel free to like the video. Comment down below, have you tried out this tactic? What do you think of leveling the towers? I don't do it always, but when I know that I'm being pushed, hey, sometimes it might not be that bad. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.